How are you? We're sitting here. I have JJ. Say hi, JJ.
Hello.
And Anna. Say hi, Anna. And we have our Advent candles. And you're here for story time with Pamela. And we are going to read to you. Well, I'm going to read to you. They're going to listen. You're going to listen. Jotham's journey. And we're going to look at day 2. Can you see? I'll move my head. The fireplace. We thought we would have something a little bit more special today than my little background yesterday. And I was outside in the cold, so I've got my hat on because you do not want to see my hair. The Advent candles are all symbolic. And so the one we have lit today represents hope. That's something that we really need in our world right now is hope. So let this story bring hope to you and enjoy it. Jotham's journey. Whoa, there it is. Day 2, comfort ye. Jotham stared through blurry eyes at the man in the long black beard. A halo shone around his head, and his face glowed with the warmth of a friendly heart. Jotham's head was spinning from his fall and from starvation, and he felt as if he were tumbling into hold on, guys, I think I'm reading Tuesdays. I am. Today's Monday. I'm so sorry. Let's start again. The jackal bared his teeth and growled low and evil. His eyes glowed red in the firelight. He stood as tall as Jotham, and his splotchy black fur hung on his bony frame like a moss on a dead tree. What's a moss? That's the green stuff on the tree. Yep. All right. The beast was starving, and it just had found food. Jotham's chest heaved with every terrified beat of his heart. He wanted to scream, but all his screams were caught inside his throat. Anna, put your money away. Run, he kept thinking to himself, but his legs refused. The jackal leaped through the air. Now Jotham turned to run, but it was too late. He had gone only a single step when a red-hot iron clamped around his right leg and knocked him crashing to the ground. Fire exploded in every nerve, and finally he screamed. Claws dug into his bare leg now, and the jaw clamped down once more. Jotham fought to roll onto his back, then kicked at the bloody face. But the demon was stronger and pinned Jotham to the ground with 300 pounds of muscle. Bared teeth hovered over Jotham's face now, and he saw his own blood dripping from their needle-like points. The stench of breath and fur filled Jotham's nose, but he didn't have time to care, because now the jackal let out a great long victory howl. What do you think that sounded like? Oof. Ooh! And then plunged his teeth deep into Jotham's throat. Ow! Jotham sat bolted up straight, slapping at the sting on his neck. He blinked rapidly in the sunlight, and his eyes watered in pain. He pulled his hand away from his neck, and through blurry eyes, he saw smashed remains of a wasp lying in his palm. It was all a dream. Jotham laughed to himself. His heart was beating fast. He was breathing in giant gasps. What was that like? Right? But it had only been a dream. There was no jackal to fight. There was no fight with his father. There was no lost family. Only his memories. Still groggy, Jotham pulled himself to his feet and brushed off the dirt. Why was I lying next to the water hole, he wondered. And why was I asleep in the dirt in the middle of the day? Hey, look at that. Pastor Donato's online. Say hi, Pastor D.
Hi, Pastor D.
Hey, Pastor D. Welcome to our Advent storytelling.
Mama, so I think still his family.
Then he saw the pile of stones, and in one awful rush of reality, he knew it hadn't all been a dream. The jackal had never attacked, that was true, But was he really all alone? He was lost, and he was really hungry. Jotham wandered through the bare campsite in the daylight. It wasn't nearly as frightening, but it was still deserted. He couldn't figure out why his parents had gone. Even if Jotham had been killed, that was no reason to move the whole camp. Something in the back of his brain kept gnawing at him. It seemed as if a couple of times in the last few weeks, he had heard his parents talk about moving camp. He never paid attention to their conversations. Adults talk about such dull things, he thought. But it seemed like there was some important thing they were concerned about, some reason that they knew they had to move. No matter, Jotham sighed. Can you sigh for me, JJ? The fact was they were gone and he was alone. Now he had to find them. Where did they go? The camp had been built close to a main road. Where it came from and where it went, Jotham had no idea. But many caravans passed by each month. He studied the tracks on the road for a long time, trying to figure out which way his family had gone. But it was impossible. The winter wind had mixed all the tracks together. So now he had to make decisions. Do I go left or do I go right? Which way do you think he's going to go, Anna? Left or right? You think he's going to go left? Let's see. You think right? No matter what he had told his father, Jotham hated making decisions, especially when there was just no way to know what the right thing to do was. What is he going to do? Finally, he decided to go to his right. Who said right? Who said right?
Me.
You did? That's where he went. Toward where the sun...
I said right.
You said right?
Yana said left.
Okay. Toward where the
You did
sun
that.
rose every morning. So after taking a long drink at the watering hole and tying his scratchy little blanket around his waist, he started walking. Jotham liked walking on roads. Most shepherds like to stay out in the hills and wander from place to place and not really care where there were. But roads, they took you from one place to another, and Jotham liked that. He liked having a specific purpose for his walking. Of course, Jotham had no idea what specific place this road came from or went to. Move over there. And he had no idea if he was following his family or walking away from them. He could only hope and pray. He had only been walking about an hour when the pain in his stomach became so overpowering to him. I have got to find some food, he thought, but where? The sides of the roads were bare and rocky. A few bushes pushed their way through the rocks, but they were all brown and bare in the coolness of winter. Suddenly, Jotham forgot all about his aching stomach. He had just climbed a short hill when he saw that the road ahead of him entered a narrow canyon. Sharp rocks stuck out in all angles, creating dozens of places to hide. Jotham knew his father worried at places like this and would always make a caravan move close in together. These were the kinds of places where robbers would hide. Usually, they'd leave a large caravan alone, but Jotham remembered one time when 3 men had attacked one of his uncles, stolen his purse, and vanished into the hills before anyone could help. So what is the chance? What chance does a 10-year-old boy have, Jotham thought. By now, the hunger had made Jotham's head feel like it was floating. The empty feeling went clear from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head, and there was an awful buzzing sound in his ears. You guys know what it's like when you're really hungry and you haven't had anything. Imagine how Jotham felt, because it wasn't just a few hours. It had been a couple of days. As he got closer to the canyon, his heart began to pound in his chest. He tried to look at the rocks ahead, searching for any sign of robbers, but couldn't quite get his eyes to focus. He passed from the sunlight into the shadows of the canyon, and the walls themselves seemed to be alive. It felt as if they were moving closer in with every step he took. I lost my place. Moving in to crush him with their long, craggy fingers. Sounds seemed to echo off the walls. Strange sounds, awful sounds, scary sounds. Jotham tried to follow the sounds with his eyes. He tried to look at every rock and crevice all at once. He spun this way and that way, imagining at every turn a thief jumping at him with a knife to sneer his lips. Jehovah, save me. Sneer would mean to cut. Jehovah, save me. Who's Jehovah? Who's Jehovah? God, save me. Jotham screamed, and his screams scared a flock of birds out of their hiding place. Can you imagine? They flew past Jotham's head, and he swatted at them and screamed again. Then he turned towards the other end of the canyon and started running. He ran from the birds and from the robbers he'd imagined, and from the evil canyon walls. He ran and he ran and he cried and he screamed. But just as he thought he was about to safety, when the end of the canyon was steps away, a man with a long black beard jumped out from behind the rocks and landed right in front of Jotham. What do you think that is? Who do you think that is?
God.
Do you think it might be God? What do you think, Anna? Is it a bad guy or a good guy? You think it's a bad guy and you think it's God. Okay. Jotham screamed and tried to jump to the side, but he tripped and he fell and he struck his head on a rock and everything went black. What happened? He hit his head. And what happened, Anna? He hit his head and what happened? Why did it go black? Because he passed out. That's why he got hit so hard. Psalm 61, verses 1 through 4. Oh, we shouldn't read that just yet. Jotham moaned and gently rubbed his head. His eyes fluttered open, and all he could see was the face of the man with the long black beard. Jotham tried to pull away, but the man held his arm tightly. All right. There, little one, be at peace, he said softly. Seeing the smile on this man's face, Jotham calmed a little and stopped struggling a little. There was a bright glow around this man's head, and his face beamed with kindness. I heard you calling the name of Jehovah, he gently said. So I came. Now that's the end of our story reading for today. But there's a couple of scriptures and questions that go along with it. Psalm 61, verses 1 through 4. Do you want to read that, Anna? No? Hear my cry, O God. Listen to my prayer. From the ends of the earth, I call to you. I call as my heart grows faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for you have been my refuge, my strong tower against the foes. Oh, my battery is running low. This was the prayer of the Israelites as they searched for God. They were tired of sinning and tired of being afraid. So finally they called on Jehovah to rescue them. And he did. And we know that as the people were crying out for a Savior at Advent, that Jesus came into the world. And today we have that comfort that we know when we cry out to God, he hears us. So as our candle lit tonight represents hope, let the hope of Advent Christmas be with you always. Thank you for being here with us. And I pray a blessing upon you.